Hello friends, I am Alisa and you are watching Fact Sparks. Few days ago, a man asked me that do you know the lizard whose tail we can cut and then it regrows its tail again after few days. And if we cut its hands, so it grows new hands after few days. But why this happens? I was shocked and started studying about this. That how could an animal regenerate its body parts? A special type of lizard, which is known as salamander, have the ability to regenerate its limbs in 40 to 50 days. What if this ability comes in humans? Scientists are doing some experiments. I am showing you the hands of a lizard whose hands were cut down and that it regenerates its limbs again. But God forbid, if a human's hand is cut off and after 40 days it regenerates its hand again, so it will be his superpower. And an associate professor, Dr. Shah Ifrati, is working on this superpower. You can listen to his talks on YouTube and can read the papers, and he is trying to make us young. Aging is under a lot of research. Two types of research is very important. In one research, they are stopping aging because World Health Organization has told us that aging is a disease and its cure is present, and we are trying to find out that cure. The second major research is reversing aging. It means that they are making people young from old, and for that they have to regenerate our organs, our brain, and our whole body. And Dr. Shahi is working on this. He thinks that there are four such factors from which we can do regeneration. The most important in these is that you must have a trigger. You must have omnipotent stem cells, you must have energy, and you must have enabling environment. So then, in humans and animals, this work can be done which the lizard does with its limbs. If we talk about trigger, so you look at plants, whenever they get the trigger of light, so they sense it and changes its direction slowly towards it. Humans also have such senses which can detect light. If I tell you about stem cells, so they are such raw cells in our body which slowly converts into functional cells. I am showing you that from stem cell you can make muscle cells, you can make intestinal cells, you can make liver cells, you can make neurons, you can make brain cells. That's why in some therapies we take out stem cells from the body, we regenerate them, make their copies, and re-inject them into the body. So they can be replicated in lab, but we need their replica in our body because we know that if the stem cells will be more produced and the other factors will be present, so we can generate any organ. As I am showing you the hands of a lizard whose hand has been cut it off and then it regenerates its hand. So a process comes here which is known as blastema. This is the place where a lot of stem cells are cutted and a lot of oxygen is present at this place. And then this process begins and blastema formation starts. And after that, you can see that how this hand grows. We want to initiate this process in humans. Let me tell you that the doctor did a lot of experiments and he gave more oxygen to humans. Let me show you a graph, and here scientists gave more oxygen to patients, and this is known as gave step function to patients. Oxygen normally in our body is at 100 level, and they suddenly increased the oxygen and took it between 2000 or 1500. They kept the patient there for some time and then reduced the oxygen. Then they did this thing again and made a square way, and then after that they saw that do stem cells produce by increasing oxygen and then normalizing it. So a lot of stem cells started to produce. So this is the reason that we are interested in stem cells, because healing occurs due to stem cells, and in this a special type of stem cell which is known as important stem cell. Enabling environment should be present. I told you that if we take out embryo from its environment, so it will never grow. So that's why for this type of recovery, enabling environment is must. So let's make our brain young. How do we make our brain young? Every organ of our body is under research. So let me tell you about the research which is happening for making our brain young. First of all, you should know some facts about brain. We know that our brain is 2% of our body weight. 15% of our cardiac output goes into our brain. 20% of consumption of oxygen is taken by our brain. Uses 25 to 30% of body glucose. So if you want to become slim or want to do diet, so use your brain because it will use more glucose and your body will get less glucose, so you will become smart. And this way, brain is using 20% of our brain energy. The correction of this thing is very important that many people think that they are using 10% of their brain, but let me correct you that we use 5 to 10% of our brain in 1 unit time. But we use all parts of our brain in 24 hours. There is no part of our brain which is not used, but at a time we use 5 to 10% of our brain. If we look at the whole day, so we are using 100% of our brain. At a time, we are using 5 to 10% of our brain. So how can we increase it? The reason behind it is that we don't have enough oxygen. If we have enough oxygen, then our brain will work more properly. Whenever we do any work, for example, I move my hand, so blood flow from our brain turns to my hand and lack of oxygen will produce in our brain. Now, if there are any type of dysfunctional cells in our brain, so they would not be able to recover themselves because brain is not getting proper oxygen. And firstly, this thing was highlighted by a paper in 1977 which completely changed the neuroscience. This paper told us that the dysfunctional cells of our brain are not dead cells. They have gone to energy saving mode. These cells can be regenerated and reactivated. For this, Dr. Shahi invented hyperbolic oxygen. In this, we made hyperbolic cables in which humans are kept and are given excessive oxygen. So, when they were given excessive oxygen, so all the strokes and problems of brain were finished. Let me give you an example of a woman whose right hemisphere was not working and could not speak. She was having two problems. So when right hemisphere was not working, so left side was not working. The left side of her body was paralyzed. And when she was given oxygen, so after 14 months, she started to recover and started speaking. So imagine if a woman who cannot move or talk is provided with a therapy and oxygen, so she starts recovering. Let me give you an example of a school teacher. She fell from a bus and was 51 years old. She was in severe trauma for 2 years that she could do nothing. And then she was provided that therapy and she then recovered and joined her university again and is now teaching there. These were all the cases in which we solved the problems of people, but still we haven't made new brains from the old one. For making new brains or young brain from old ones, we need new blood vessels. Because a very big research says that the people above 30 age gets minor strokes every time. When their MRI scans were done, so they said that they were having strokes. Strokes means that their blood vessels were becoming thin, and when these people go into more older age, so they get major strokes. And the way to stop these strokes, we should generate new blood vessels by any way. This process, which occurs naturally, is known as angiogenesis. But we want to speed up this. For this, we need three things. One is energy, the other is stem cell, and a trigger. We get energy and stem cells from HBOT therapy, where we increases and decreases the oxygen levels. But we get the trigger from hypoxia process. Hypoxia is a process in which oxygen reduces in blood. If we, due to anything, can't breathe, so our fingers turns blue, and this process is known as hypoxia. And this is a trigger. When we comes from 1500 to 100, whereas 100 was normal concentration of oxygen in blood, but we went up and then came to 100, so our body perceives that it is not getting oxygen. So we get hypoxia for a little while, and that triggers new blood vessels. When this experiment was done on rats, so new blood vessels were produced. This means that the rat was getting young, but we want to make humans young, and then this experiment was done on humans. So after HBOT therapy, more blood vessels were produced, and due to this function of human brain is becoming fast and his memory is getting well. So an example of reverse aging is that the CEO of a very big company in Israel is 65 years, and he came to Dr. Shahi and said that now in this age he is getting problem in recalling something. First, he was able to remember 20 random numbers, but now he cannot remember more than 11 numbers. Then the doctor did his HBOT therapy, and then he started remembering 20 numbers in that age, and many more experiments are happening in which they are making human brain young. There are many more ways through which our brain is becoming young, but not only our brain is under research, our heart and our kidneys are also being under research. The entire body of a human is under work, that how we can regenerate young organs from the old one, so that we can get a superpower like that lizard, and if our fingers cut it, so we can regenerate it. Hope you would like the video. Thanks for watching.